Oh man, this is gonna be a fucking doozy. This one, dude. The fact that there was a Senate intelligence hearing, like the day after the fucking Atlantic article drops, peak, absolute fucking cinema, peak. It's peak, boys. It's so peak. You literally could not play this any better. It is incredible, man. But yeah, I guess we're gonna start talking about the sort of like impact, the fallout of the fucking of the leak. Boys, fuck, group chat leaked. Group chat leaked. But we're gonna start here because I didn't cover these in like the previous video about this, about the group chat leaking. But yeah, like it's pretty blatant from like a lot of the language here. These people just have a hatred of Western Europe and Europe in general. They hate fucking Western liberal democracies. And I'll be honest, I think it's because this is overall what ended up defeating the Nazis. Because a lot of the freaks who are complaining about this are Nazis in of themselves. Hegseth is a fucking Deus Vult LARPer. You want to know the only people who do that nowadays? Nazis. Stephen Miller. Nazi. Peddles all the fucking same rhetoric and conspiracies as the Nazis fucking did. And JD Vance, he's a Catholic convert. Primary red flag for fucking Nazis. But they really fucking hate Europe. That's like the first and primary thing you got from those messages immediately. Bailing out Europe again. I don't think it's necessarily a bailing out of Europe, but mostly his troglodyte fans are mostly just going to think of this as like Trump being real strong against those stinky brown terrorists. That's how they're going to think of this. Like not really much else, because again, Trump supporters are kind of fucking stupid. But yeah, it's a protection racket first and foremost. They want to extort Europe because they fucking hate Europe. And of course, it's all about, again, protecting the interests of monarchies and dictators, of Saudi Arabia, of which Saudi Arabia is both. So, meh. But why don't we get into the immediate reaction, because this was really funny. From Pete Hegseth. But yeah, the authenticity of the, like, literally even Pete Hegseth, one of his, like, spokesmen that works under him, confirmed the fucking authenticity of it. But you know, what we got? What's Pete's immediate reaction?
Looking forward to it. One question.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in the Atlantic, and were those details
pretty good question.
classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a
Yeah, dude. Jeffrey Goldberg, very deceitful. I wonder why he's calling him very wily and deceitful. But yeah, sure, man. Again, like, this is like a meaningless moniker coming from anyone from the Trump administration, because he says that about any journalist who reports on him negatively. Reports on him correctly negatively. And so far, you want to even know what the conservative spin on this has been? They've basically had no spin, except like saying like, yeah, that was pretty bad. That was a pretty big mistake. And the sort of like main story, there's like no main story that's so far guiding all of this. It's been just all over the place. Disparate and all over the place. Also desperate. It's a desperate attempt to try to deflect some kind of blame, because like this leak is pretty fucking blatant. Even Jeffrey Goldberg, when I was reading that fucking article, was just shocked and surprised at the sheer incompetence. This is what happens when you live in a cacatocracy.
a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, 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 or the fine people on both sides hoax.
Dude, he literally said those things, and the Mueller report found that Trump fucking was colluding, that Trump was colluding with the Russians, dude. Like, what do you mean? He literally said those things, and those things literally happened. We have to trot out, like, old 2017 memes to, like, for this colossal fuck up. It's weak.
Or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign because of the skill and courage of our troops. I've monitored it very closely.
Sure, man.
From the beginning. And you see, we've been managing 4 years of deferred maintenance under the Trump administration. Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets.
This is
our
pretty
ships
fucking
couldn't sail
soy.
through. And when they did shoot...
Okay, again, the ships could sail through. It's just that they would have to mostly hug the line along the waters of Djibouti by the United Arab Emirates and just not go into Yemeni fucking territorial waters, because those were the ships that they were attacking. Also, they were attacking U.S. carrier groups because the carrier groups were fucking attacking their territory. So, whoa, they were doing retaliatory strikes. But okay. Nice fucking meme, dude. What's up, camera sniffer? But yeah, man. That's totally the reason for us to, like, the Houthi attacks were surely just the most random. I don't even want to make this look like I'm defending the fucking Houthis, but I have to defend the Houthis because this dude's just saying complete fucking nonsense. Like, the only ships that are being attacked are the cargo ships that are going through the Yemeni territorial waters. So guess what? They're getting attacked because they're just like, well, those are ships that are going to Israel, so they're getting attacked. And they've attacked ships under literally every flag. They've even gone after Russian and Chinese ships because guess what? Those two countries do a lot of trade with Israel. So guess what? They got attacked. Crazy. It's almost as if there's a better path, and that is to try to, hey, actually, why don't we have a ceasefire? Because, hey, you know, all these ships just keep getting attacked. But, oh well. Now, we have to make this about freedom of navigation. Because we saw in the article, like, they're just going to defer, they're just going to blame Biden and talk about freedom of navigation as if the U.S. is the one who owns the waters. No, the U.S. don't own those waters, okay? Those are Yemeni waters, and those are waters from the UAE. The UAE can allow those ships in, but overall, not your waters. Sorry.
Back, it was purely defensively, or at shacks in Yemen. President Trump said, no more. We will reestablish deterrence. We will open freedom of navigation.
Which is not going to work.
Ultimately decimate the Houthis, which is exactly what we're doing as we speak from the beginning.
Yeah, by bombing mostly women and children. Because, again, the territory what the Houthis are probably keeping their weapons in is rather mountainous. Very difficult to get at those underground bunkers in the mountains. Very easy natural defenses. Good luck getting to that shit. So they're just going to be able to keep doing their stuff. The Houthis in terms of their attacks on shipping. And on the American carrier groups. It's just not going to work out.
Overwhelmingly.
Why were those details...
Weak answer overall. Just complete fucking incompetence. So, I mean, I already mentioned this earlier. I don't even know where to begin with this because there's just so many clips. Thanks, Aaron Rupar. Of the attempted spin. Like, conveniently, there was a national security, a national security briefing or committee hearing. And so, guess what they talked about? They talked about this the whole time. They had Tulsi Gabbard there. They had John Radcliffe, and I think they also had Kash Patel on there as well. But guess what? These guys are just gonna get grilled on. Nothing but testifying about like, hey, so how do these leaks happen? Well, look what's going on here.
So, Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address.
Conversation.
So
She's
you're
not gonna
Are
answer
you
the
denying?
question.
Ma'am, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat,
I'm
As
not
the
going to
report
get into
said.
the specifics
so you
of the
refuse to
deliberate.
acknowledge whether you were on this group chat.
Just not
Senator,
gonna.
I'm not going
just
to
not
get into
going
the
to,
Why are you going to get into the
that's
specifics?
not going to
Is this-
reply?
Is
Just
it
cut.
because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because it's
Council.
all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
That's a pretty reasonable follow-up there by Senator Warner. If this wasn't classified, nothing should be wrong. You should be able to share it. But she isn't answering the questions. Seems like she's caught. Can't believe I'm on Senator Warner's side. Jesus fucking Christ. He caught her pretty much instantly. Or that's a bad snap. Instantly. There you go. That was a much better snap.
As the White House previously
Is it
stated,
classified or non-classified information on this text?
I can confirm.
Director Radcliffe, were you on the group chat? So, Director Gabbard?
Man, she did not want to answer that question.
One of the things that I was briefed on very
Radcliffe
early,
rolls out
Senator,
the
was
latest
by
talking
the
point.
CIA records management folks about the use of Signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden
Director
administration.
Radcliffe, I've got a series of questions.
By the way, he is lying. It is approved for non-classified, non-work related material. If it's stuff that is declassified, Signal can be used as a form of as a communications tool. But for stuff that is classified, keep in mind, also, real quick, they were planning on keeping everything that they were saying in that group chat off the record. They did not want to enter that into the record because, again, they were trying to, because they knew what they were talking about overall was classified information, and what they were doing was initially illegal. They weren't supposed to be using Signal for the stuff that they were talking about, but they did. They did an illegal action, and they got caught for it.
If you're making the
To the
statement,
point, well,
if
let
you're
me-
making the statement, the Signal is a secure channel.
No? Can
Which
I
it's
just
not.
answer that?
Keep in mind, literally one of the people in that group chat was in Russia at the time. Do you know how easily the Russians could have potentially intercepted that fucking communications? They were in a Russian international airport at the time, publicly talking on Signal about the Houthi bombing.
It is
I've got a series of
end-to-end decryption, so
It
to
is,
finish,
I understand
it is
encryption.
permissible to use to communicate and coordinate for work purposes, provided, Senator, that any decisions that are made are also recorded through formal channels. So those
Which you were refusing to do. They talked about in that group chat not recording what they were talking about, which is illegal, which makes you immediately ask the question, what else are they talking about? What other topics are they talking about in Signal group chats that we have no idea about? That's stuff that could potentially be subpoenaed. That's something that they could potentially impeach over. Of course, the problem is that there's no evidence. But there could be an investigation launched. That is possible. They could potentially get the information from Signal itself, because generally speaking, if you delete like group chats, they're not actually deleted. They're going to be stored somewhere in a database. It still could potentially exist out there. Now, I'm not 100% certain what Signal's policy is on this, but trust me, I've been around the IT block long enough, okay? And I know that there are companies that have done stuff like this where potentially they could hold deleted group chats and messages for the express purposes of restoration, say you want to bring back those messages so you can save them for yourself or whatever, it is possible that Signal might have those and Congress could get their hands on it. Potentially. And an investigation could be launched about stuff like this. Now, this is completely theoretical and hypothetical, something that I'm throwing out into the ether. Will this happen? I don't think so, because I don't think Congress is sort of technologically inclined enough to really know about how these systems may potentially work. And again, I'm not 100% certain what Signal's sort of policy and what service level agreements they have when it comes to stuff like this.
Those were procedures that were implemented. My staff implemented those processes, followed those processes, complied with
So are
those
you saying
processes,
that
and finally, just please. So one of the things.
Nothing about blaming Biden. So Ratcliffe rolls out the latest MAGA talking point. It's actually Biden's fault that the Trump administration officials were using Signal. Because apparently Biden said that you can use the Signal for official communications, but not of classified information. And if you record it, they were not going to record it, and they put classified information on there. Whoopsie! Oopsie poopsie.
contact the defense secretary or others
Gabbard claims there's
after
no classified
this specific
materials that was
military
shared in the
planning was
Signal
put
chat.
out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a skiff?
There was no
If you recall, a skiff is basically a secure location to talk about stuff, whether it be in your home, whether it be like in some facility somewhere where like you know that shit can't get intercepted.
classified material that was shared in that
So then if
Signal
there are no
chat.
classified material, share it with the committee.
True. You should be able to share
You
it if it
can't have
wasn't.
it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security.
Dude, look at her face, bro. She is not happy. She's like, fuck. Why the fuck do I have to deal with this bullshit? God fucking damn it, bro. There should be fucking Hexit's shit because he's the one who fucked up really badly here. Fuck. Objectively, God, this is fucking crazy. Like, this is something that's been fucking verified, but it's just like, I wish I could be corrupt like my BJP buddies. I mean, we all know that Tulsi's just a Russian asset, right? She is already corrupt like her BJP buddies, but unfortunately, institutional power hasn't been completely destroyed within the United States of America. They're trying very hard and are being successful in a lot of ways. And they haven't gone after everything yet. Not yet. Senators still have a ton of fucking power.
Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the content.
She's not going to answer the question, but Mark Warner is correct there. It's just like, if it's not classified, you should be able to share it.
And the
Signal
information committee
group
should get
chat.
that information. Director
And the
Patel,
National Security
Director
Council
Patel,
has
my time's
reviewed
about out,
how
and I'm
this
going to
occurred.
use my 12 seconds that the chairman gave me. Director Patel, has the FBI launched any investigation of this?
Senator, I was just briefed about it late last night, this morning. I don't have an update.
I would like to get an answer by the end of the day.
All right, nothing really there, but just kind of standard procedure. Well, that was some Mark Warner stuff. They got... Man, Gabbard got fucking grilled. Uh-oh, stinky.
Records or potential crimes that ought to
Ron
be
Wyden.
investigated
What do we got
immediately. And I want to make clear that I'm of the view that there ought to be resignation, starting with the National Security Advisor and the Secretary of Defense.
Probably not going to happen.
Director Ratcliffe and Director Gabbard, have you participated
But should
in any
happen,
other
but it's not gonna
group
happen.
chats with senior Trump administration officials in which classified information was shared using phones that weren't cleared for such information? Question.
That's a good fucking question. Because that's the exact same question I asked. It's just like, dude, if they've done this, they've done it with other stuff, okay? There is no fucking way otherwise that they didn't do this before. And that they fucked up really badly in fucking inviting an editor-in-chief, like a chief journalist. The editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. Oops, group chat linked.
For the two of you.
Senator, thank you for the question. I haven't, your question was, have I participated in any other group chats sharing classified information? To be clear, I haven't participated in any Signal group messaging that relates to any classified information at all.
Okay. Director.
You're the director of the CIA. I feel like you should be able to. Okay, like here's the fucking thing with all this stuff. You can notice how they're obviously being evasive, and all their fucking answers are not unified, right? They're not giving unifying answers. They're mostly looking to cover their own asses, which is pretty emblematic of this administration. It's all people who just want to get into the administration, get their fucking creds, get out the fucking revolving door, and go on some fucking board to earn 7 figures for the rest of their lives. That's it. So, you know, they don't actually give a fuck about public service. They want to go into the private sector as soon as possible and get their fucking bag. That's the point.
Gabbard.
Senator, I have the same answer. I have not participated in any Signal group chat or any other chat on another app that contained any classified information.
Well, that's just a lie, obviously. And fuck up everything while they're in office? Yup, exactly, Boy Meets Mini. Well, we all know that's just blatantly not true.
Of you gave me an answer indicating that you would be open to that, and I appreciate it. Director Patel, you weren't in this particular group chat, but have you participated in any chats on unclassified phones with other administration officials relating to national security?
So, Gabbard and Ratcliffe's answers were fairly unified on that one. They said that they just actively denied it, which is just false. Ratcliffe himself literally spoke in the fucking chat himself. Gabbard didn't say anything.
And if so, on what other topics?
So I guess he could technically be correct, but Ratcliffe did participate in that chat.
Thank you for your question, Senator, and not that I can recall.
Okay. That you gave.
So he doesn't unequivocally deny participating. He just said, like, not that I can recall. As far as I remember, Kash Patel was not in the Houthi small PC group chat, I think. As far as I remember, Kash Patel was not there. One thing to notice is that Elon was not there either, but I think that's because all those people probably fucking hate Elon for good reason. Elon is stupid, dumb, and annoying. I know that Elon, like, recently was also in, like, an important security, council meeting about China. Now, you may be wondering, why was Elon participating in that? He should have nothing to do with China. One of Tesla's biggest factories is in China. So Elon would probably care very much so if there was a war started between the United States and China, because guess what? Pretty clear conflict of interest there, Elon, isn't there? You got one of your biggest factories in fucking China, so you could exploit that cheap Chinese labor? Let's keep going.
So on the question of whether...
So Gabbard says that anyone who Trump wants to give a security clearance to can get one. Is that true, Boy Meets Mini? The president can just give clearance to anybody if he just wants to? I feel like that might be not good.
The president has the prerogative to get clearances is really the area that I want to touch on because you're formally responsible.
So basically, I think the Pentagon has to approve. Okay, so given how Trump acts, the answer to that question would be yes. He is just going to give anybody he wants clearance to anything. Because again, cacotocracy, it's all about being a sycophant to Trump. And trying to do because he's also tried to replace everyone in the Pentagon with a bunch of loyalists. He can't really do that though. That's not how that works. Because again, here's the thing with like most of the people that operate within the Pentagon, most of them are pencil pushing West Point liberals who actually care about the Constitution. So they're not necessarily going to be all that down with going along with sycophancy for Trump.
For security clearance policies, and that's why I'm asking about it. So can a president decide who gets the clearance?
Yes.
So what about your role? You're formally
So yeah, let's be honest. That question, pretty fucking literal, I'll be honest. Because again, Trump will give clearance to anyone. He will give clearance to literally anybody that shows enough deference and sycophancy to him.
Responsible for security clearance policies.
That is also true.
So how do we resolve it?
That's a good
The
question.
president just gets his way.
The elected president and commander-in-chief has the authority to provide a security clearance to those who he deems necessary.
So basically what she's just admitted there is that like, my role is basically meaningless. Yeah, it's not an actual answer to the question, because here's the thing. Technically speaking, she is right, but also she's being quite literal with her answer there, saying that like with the sycophancy that surrounds Trump, he'll just like approve anyone who kisses his ass enough and just give them clearance to anybody. So we'll see exactly what happens there. But technically speaking, like Gabbard's essentially like completely relinquishing like any power that she has with an answer like that. It's hilarious.
Director Ratcliffe, I want to start with you. Who determined that the content of this discussion on
Senator
Signal
Heinrich,
was
I
not
suppose?
classified?
Heinrich?
Senator, I guess I'm not.
Well, for example,
I can speak to my personal knowledge. There was no classified
agent mentioned as part of this story. Normally, that would
is
be
true.
classified information. So I guess
Yep. So that was some self-classification there being done by Jeffrey Goldberg, saying, yeah, there was like a literal active CIA agent there who was a part of the group chat. And dude was just like, yeah, I'm not going to say who this is or what they said because I'm pretty sure this is an active intelligence officer. So I'm just not going to talk about what they said, but they said shit in that group chat, which you can assume is definitely classified information. And I don't think I want, as much as I do not like the CIA, I'm not going to fault that agent, that intelligence officer who was in there, because I don't think that guy had any way of knowing for certain that there was going to be a fucking major journalist who got invited by Michael Waltz, who was a fucking security advisor, national security advisor to the president. I don't think that was really anticipated.
what I'm asking is, did you just determine it was not classified, or was there any declassification after the fact?
So to be clear, so everyone understands the process, as we talked about, Signal is a permissible use.
I
Has been
understand
used
that.
at the CIA, has been approved by the White House for senior officials.
And
has been
appropriate for many conversations.
and recommended by CISA for high-level officials who would be targeted by foreign adversaries.
Yeah, he's not answering the question. I've already said this before. It is an approved application for communication, but if something important is going to be talked about, it has to be put into the record, and also, it has to be put into the record, which they said they are not putting into the record explicitly in those chats, that they were keeping it off the record, and also, not for highly classified material, which this was. So he's not answering the question.
To use end-to-end encrypted apps when
Did this conversation at some point include information on weapons packages, targets, or timing?
not that I'm aware of.
Well, that's a lie.
Director Gabbard, same.
Quite literally, I think Pete Hegseth said what time they were striking, 1:45 p.m. Eastern, which was confirmed when literally Jeffrey Goldberg looked back in the group chat at 1:48 p.m. And saw messages from 1:48 p.m. saying like, oh yeah, you were effective on those targets. Good job. And saw within the news itself that the strikes happened at 1:55 p.m. EST. So, now the types of weapons were used, the packages, the targets, not specified. The timing, however, was. So,
Same question.
Same answer, and defer to the Department of Defense on that question.
Well, those are two different answers, but you're saying that
That's so
did not,
hilarious.
that was not
That's
part of the
funny.
conversation.
That's my knowledge.
The precise.
Well, Heggs is, he did say, but yeah, they're both lying here.
Operational issues were not part of
They're
this
also not
conversation.
going to
Correct.
answer any of the questions.
Did this
Also, on the Americans, it seems more and more as if China will win this Cold War. It's also if the U.S. is trying to run a Rome downfall. Honestly, like the age of the Chinese century is coming more and more upon us.
I want to ask you, Director Gabbard,
This is about Canada.
something on a very different track here,
What
which
do we got here?
is, I very much agree with the conclusion of the ATA that foreign illicit drug actors are a major threat in the United States, and many of you have spoken to this today. Is the IC wrong in its omission of Canada?
This doesn't really seem to be pertaining to the main sort of topic we're talking about, the leaked group chat. But what, yeah, Canada never gets mentioned in any of the intelligence because, like, it's just like we're not a threat at all to the U.S. Let's be honest here. Again, like 0.8% of fentanyl comes from like into the U.S. from Canada, something like low like that. But yeah, it's like we're not the main problem. So I don't think that pertains to the current hearing.
Secretary Hegseth put into this group text.
Angus King doesn't buy Gabbard's testimony that war plans ahead of military strikes isn't actually classified information. Well.
A detailed operation plan, including targets, the weapons we were going to be using, attack sequences, and timing. And yet you've testified that nothing in that chain was classified. Wouldn't that be classified? What if that had been made public that morning before the
That's a
attack
pretty
took
good.
place?
I don't think Angus is buying.
Senator, I can attest to the fact
Gabbard's
there
bullshit.
were no classified or intelligence equities that were included
Yeah, she's
in
not-
that chat
she's not
at
answering the
any
question.
time.
So,
And I
so the
defer,
attack sequencing and timing and weapons and targets you don't consider should have been classified?
I
or
defer
were
to the
classified?
Secretary of Defense and the National Security Council on that question.
Well, you're the head of you're the head of the intelligence community, and you're supposed to know about classifications. So your testimony very clearly today is that nothing was in that set of texts that were classified. I'll follow up on Senator Wyden's question.
Yeah, she is definitely. That is a very fucking weak answer. Because again, just like Mark Warner just said, it's like, okay, if it's not classified and it's public, then share it. Why aren't you sharing it then? You should be able to share the information, and she refuses to share the information. She's talking out both sides of her mouth there. Which means it had to have been classified. And that this was not intended to happen. So she's just full of shit.
If that's the case, please release that whole text stream so that the public can have a view of what actually transpired on this discussion. It's hard for me to believe that targets and timing and weapons would not have been classified. Well,
That's true, but we also know that in that group chat, I've said at this point, they wanted to keep it off the record. They didn't want this to be put into the official record. They wanted to keep this as hush-hush as possible. And then, sort of have like this boisterous, like triumphant sort of, look at us attacking and owning the Houthis or some shit. So again, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. They want to have a good story of like a victory, because so far, like, the administration has been a complete disaster. The U.S. economy is going into the fucking shitter. We'll see what happens on April 2nd when the reciprocal tariffs kick in. That's in about a week. Recession's like right around the fucking corner because of the just sheer disastrous, idiotic policies that have been going on with the Trump administration and everything. So we just gotta wait and see what happens now. Because again, they wanted to have a little, some kind of a victory to bring home to their base, but it fucking leaked. So now it's a complete fucking scandal and a shit show. This makes them look really bad politically.
Me. I've been on this committee now this is my 13th year. Every single...
So climate change, I do agree that climate change, it doesn't pertain to the topic that we're talking about, but I do agree that climate change is definitely a threat that needs to be assessed to national security. I don't disagree with that at all.
Did he create a hoax that allowed
Here's
him
Michael
to become
Bennett.
part of this signal thread?
Don't insult the intelligence of the American community. Did Goldberg invite himself to the signal thread? So, broadly speaking, based off of Goldberg's testimony, no. He had no idea that he was going to be invited to this. He didn't say anything. He was just like, I just want to see what the fuck is going on here and see if this is like some form of like catfish potentially. Because this can happen. This has happened before where journalists have gone catfished. That's not the exact word, but I'm just going to use that term. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's like, we're just going to wait and see. We're going to see what happens. And it turned out to be real. It's just, and he's just like, oh my God, it's real. Holy shit. This is a massive leak. And yeah, you're right, Boy Meets Mini. Those tariffs are going to hit all 50 states hard. Well, I mean, you know, get the tariffs that we're going to do in retaliation is we're trying not to hit Democratic states, but the problem is since tariffs are an import tax on all goods, and Trump is being just doing like blanket tariffs all over the place because he's an idiot. California is going to get hit as a result. Not our fault. We're just like, hey man, we're doing targeted stuff on Republican states because we know that the Republicans are fucking idiots. So, fuck you. We're gonna make only Republicans suffer. Democrats didn't want anything to do with this shit, so Trump's the real. Yeah, we're just like, hey man, we're just doing our own thing, bro. We had nothing to do with this. Trump's just a fucking moron. But anyway, let's continue with this.
Please answer the question. You don't insult the intelligence of the American people.
True.
Did he invite himself to the signal thread?
I don't know how he was invited, but clearly he was added.
Clearly it was.
I mean, we know how he was invited. We know Michael Waltz invited him. Probably by mistake. Completely by mistake. But if they admit that it was a mistake, it makes them look really bad. Extremely bad. So they're not going to actually say that it was a mistake.
Finish your sentence, please.
Clearly he was added to the signal group. Your question is...
You don't know that the president's national security advisor invited him to join the signal thread? Everybody in America knows that. Does the CIA director not know that?
I've seen conflicting reports about who...
I can't answer. This is so weak. And here's the thing. You can't give a straight answer to this because if you go against what Trump says, you're going to suffer politically. You're going to get kicked out of the administration. You're going to get fired. So he can't give a straight answer to this. Like, if I recall correctly, Trump so far, his main response to this is like, it was a glitch. It was probably a glitch. Because, again, Trump's a boomer. He doesn't understand how technology works. He doesn't even know what's, like, in his main response to this, he doesn't even understand how Signal works. He doesn't know what it is. And he was saying, like, yeah, it was a glitch. Definitely didn't happen. It was a glitch. And it's just like, oh, dude, if you think that was a glitch... I have a bridge to fucking sell you. Like, oh my God. Everything computer. Yeah, like you did with the fucking Tesla. Oh my God.
Who added the reporter to the signal messaging
group? You think that it's perfectly appropriate that there was a reporter added, especially one that the Secretary of Defense says is deceitful, highly discredited, a so-called journalist who's made a
we just covered that
peddling
response.
hoaxes
Hilarious.
over and over again.
Keep in mind, Jeffrey Goldberg is also Jewish. I wonder why Pete Hegseth was saying that he was incredibly deceitful. I'm just gonna throw that out there. You know, this is coming from the same guy who has like fucking Crusader State tattoos and Deus Volt, unironically tattooed on his forearm. But
testimony that it was appropriate that he was added to this signal thread?
No, of course not. And
why
Senator,
did you not
well,
call?
hold on,
you
Senator.
are the
mischaracterizing my testimony.
Good. You answered the question. Let me ask you. When he was added to the thread, you're the CIA
he didn't actually
director.
really answer the question.
Why didn't you call out that he was present on the signal thread?
And that was the same shit that Jeffrey Goldberg also said in his article. He's just like, dude, they must have noticed that I am here. What is going on? And he started to become wary and shocked. Like, dude, they have to know that I'm here. They could probably see me, unless they're all just complete dumbfuck boomers, which is a possibility that they have no idea how the application works. Wouldn't surprise me. He was just like, they have to know. They have to know. There's no way they know. Well, we know Hegseth has a history of being drunk on the job. It wouldn't surprise me if, that wouldn't surprise me if Hegseth. Although, honestly, he wasn't. He was typing too coherently in his fucking goddamn responses to be drunk. That could be idle conjecture for me. Or maybe someone else could have been writing for him. I don't know. It could be anything, dude. This is completely unprecedented.
I don't know if you use Signal messaging app.
I do. Not for classified information, not
Which
for
is not what it's
targeting,
approved for,
not for
obviously.
anything
Senator.
remote.
Neither do I, Senator.
Well,
To
that's
be
what
clear,
your testimony is today.
It absolutely is.
Dude, I don't use Signal, bro. Like, why are you grilling me over this? Like, come on. But it's using a fucking an approved app. It is an approved app, but not for classified information and for stuff that needs to be off the record.
Not, Senator. Were you not
I'm saying
listening
your
at the beginning?
No,
when I said that I was using it as permitted, it is permissible
I
to
agree
use.
that's your testimony.
Yeah.
I agree that's your testimony. You asked me if I use it, and I said not for targeting, not for classified information.
And I said I don't either.
I also know Jeff
there was
Goldberg.
classified
I don't use it to.
There wasn't targeting information, but there was timing information in there.
To communicate.
I guess you can also debate and argue that, say that like there was targeting information on there, the broad target of the Houthis, because they described that the Houthis would be the main target of this attack within that group chat.
So, with him.
Yeah.
But you thought it was appropriate. By the way, I think he's one of the more outstanding journalists in America. But I'm shocked to find him on a thread that he's reading in the parking lot of a grocery store in Washington, D.C. And your testimony as the director of the CIA is that it's totally appropriate.
Dude.
Is it appropriate?
No,
that the
Director, that is not what I.
Okay,
when did
go
I say
ahead,
it was?
please.
When did I use the word appropriate?
Well, go ahead, please.
Well, I didn't.
Who cares about whatever fucking words? You're just being weaselly and not answering any of the fucking questions when it's blatant and fucking clear what fucking happened. You have to be blind or a Trump supporter to say otherwise. Simply put. And broadly speaking, everyone agrees. It's just like, oh, this was not meant to be on here, dude.
That everybody in America.
So clearly,
there's nothing to
Senator,
see here is what your testimony is.
No, I never said that.
This is just a normal day at the CIA where we chat about this kind of stuff over Signal. In fact, it's
guys,
so
there's
normal
nothing to see here,
that
guys.
the last administration left it here for us. That's your testimony today.
That's your.
Yeah, no, try to flip it back on him. Bro's been caught, dude. It's over, dude. It's so fucking obvious how much of a fucking shit show this is. Oh, there's still a bunch more clips here.
Thank you. One final point. I'm out of time.
Mischaracterized it. Well, are you going to give me a chance?
Is it appropriate? Did you know that the president's Middle East advisor was in Moscow on this thread?
Yeah, and this was recently confirmed in follow-up reporting. What's his name? God, I forget his fucking name. It's I think Witkoff. I think it's Witkoff. He was confirmed to be in a Russian international airport.
While you were, as director of the CIA, participating in this thread, were you aware of that? Are you aware of that today?
I'm not aware of that today.
This sloppiness, this incompetence, this disrespect for our intelligence agencies and the personnel who work for them is entirely unacceptable. It's an embarrassment.
That is pretty embarrassing,
Senator,
dude.
you need to do better. You need to do better. Thank you. I'm being gavelled by the...
That's fucking wild, bro. America's leadership is if the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia cast got put into the government. It's a whole episode. Honestly, that's like probably the perfect way to put it there, Swagmaster. I'll be honest. Like, it's just rank incompetent. There's a term for it. Kakatocracy, right? Only the sycophants and the incompetents are in power. Like, that's the point. Oh, they are just whiners. Like, they've just been whining.
In the signal chain that we have been talking about, was there any mention of a target in Yemen?
Well, let's see.
I don't remember mention of specific targets.
Any?
Well, they said they were targeting the Houthis. Technically speaking, she is technically correct there. They said they were targeting the Houthis. They didn't say any specific targets, but we can sort of surmise they wanted to go after probably like air defenses, maybe missile sites, or what have you, weapons caches, or what they think are weapons caches, but generally speaking are like civilian sort of civilian dwellings, but
generic target.
I believe there was
trying to come up with
discussion
the spin.
around
Hilarious
targets in general.
Mr. Ratcliffe.
I think that's consistent with my recollection. Again, I don't have access to that.
Was there any mention, Ms. Gabbard, of a weapon or weapons system?
I don't recall specific weapons systems being named.
I'm not talking about specific, any weapon or weapon system.
I don't recall specific names of systems or weapons.
Focusing on the fucking names. I mean, like, here's the thing with that answer. She's not technically incorrect. Like, broadly speaking, you can kind of make a guess for as to what happened. And we know more or less what happened. It was an air campaign that happened. You can make a pretty educated guess.
I got 20 seconds. The deliberation as to whether or not we should launch a strike on another country, would you consider that classified information, Ms. Gabbard?
That's a pretty good question.
Well, the information was not classified.
Yet you refuse to fucking share it. She doesn't want to fucking share it? Okay, dude. Yeah. Caught. Unironically just caught.
This is not, I'm not talking about this.
Caught.
I'm just talking about deliberation from principals as to whether or not we should launch a strike on another country. Would you consider that classified information? I'm not talking about what happened this week.
There are other factors that would go into determining that classification.
Mr. Ratcliffe, the deliberation between principals in our national security apparatus about whether or not to strike another country, would you consider that to be classified information?
Pre-decisional strike deliberation should be conducted through classified channels.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Of which it was not. That's a rather contradictory answer to what Tulsi Gabbard was giving. Again, the sort of overall thing that's like these guys are only in it for themselves. Nothing really matters. They just want to get through this administration and then be put on some random board somewhere as a private advisor, get their 7-figure salaries, and then move on with the rest of their lives. Because they're all just grifters overall in the end. And they're going to destroy the government while at the same time. Yeah, pre-decisional strike deliberation should be conducted through classified channels, which is what they did, but not through a classified channel, and that they wanted to keep, guess what, off the record, which is illegal. All right, let's get into the things from
disagreements between the president and the vice president about U.S. plans and intentions would be of obvious interest to foreign intelligence services, would it not?
Yes.
Real?
And they were discussing the timing of sending U.S. air crews into enemy airspace where they faced an air defense threat, correct?
I'm going to, Senator, defer to...
So, like, we know early from the earlier questionings how, like, Tulsi Gabbard was trying to be rather weaselly about not specifying what weapon systems we used. We can surmise we know what happened. It was an air campaign. So she can say that she's technically correct in not being specific in what's being targeted, what weapon systems are being used. However, if this is information that was snuffed out somehow by, like, foreign intelligence and sent to the Houthis in a particular time, U.S. airmen and assets would have put in danger, because we know, in the end, what happened. They went after air defenses and stuff they thought was weapons caches with aircraft. They did a bombing campaign. No cruise missiles or anything like that, as far as I know. They mostly used the, it would have been the Air Force, right? The aircraft that's on the carrier group. No crew, like, maybe there were some cruise missiles in there, but primarily speaking, it was done through bombing with aircraft.
The other principles that you're referring to about what the meaning and the context of what they were on.
They're talking about the timing of U.S. airstrikes, correct?
Of which was specified by Hegseth.
And therefore the timing of sending U.S.
At 1:45 p.m. EST. We knew the exact timing. So what? In Yemen, it probably would have been about 8:45, probably. I think it's about 7. It's 7 or 8 hours ahead, so it would have been in the night. Let's see for certain. Time in Yemen. My dad used to work in Yemen, so it's currently 5:56 a.m. in Yemen. So that would be 7 hours ahead? Be 7 hours ahead. So, would have been 8:45. Simple math, right? 1 plus 7 is pretty easy, guys. Oh, damn, I didn't know that. Yeah, my dad used to work in Yemen, and then the Civil War happened. And then he was no longer working in Yemen.
U.S. air crews into hostile airspace, correct?
Yes.
And therefore, the time period during which enemy air defenses could target U.S. air crews flying in enemy airspace, correct?
I don't know that.
You do know that. Disagree.
Yeah, it is known. Hegseth specified the time that the bombing was going to start. So they could have known that. It's possible.
And would not information about the timing of airstrikes allow a military to pre-position or cue air defense systems to shoot down enemy aircraft?
That's true.
I think, Senator, from our perspective, any advance warning is something that we certainly are trying to protect.
Yeah. Director Ratcliffe, this was a huge mistake, correct?
No.
He just denies. He's like, no, it wasn't a mistake. This was definitely intended. It was definitely intended for the way the campaign was going to be conducted, or like heavy implication for how it was going to be conducted, what the potential targets were, and the exact timing of when it was going to start. Totally was meant to be specified in this signal thread chat. This is crazy, dude. Just the active denial.
A national political...
Hold on.
No, you
Let me
hold
answer.
on. No,
The
Director
answer- the
Radcliffe,
reason
I
I
asked
say
you a yes or
no-
no question, and now you'll hold on. A national political reporter
You can characterize it how you want.
was made privy
The White
to
House has
sensitive
made
information
clear
about
that there
imminent
was-
military...
Well, he knows he's caught, so he's just gonna like try to interrupt and filibuster to try to regain control of the conversation. But
operations against a foreign terrorist
inadvertent
organization.
mistake of adding a reporter.
And that wasn't a huge
to a
mistake.
hill.
That wasn't a huge mistake.
Well, I think they characterize
This is
it as
an
a mistake.
embarrassment.
True.
This is utterly unprofessional. There's been no apology.
And here's the thing: you want to know why Democrats are being very effective so far in terms of like these grillings and these testimonies? It's because the Republicans did a procedural oopsie, big procedural oopsie, and as we all know, liberals, they love their fucking proceduralism. So it's really easy for them to hammer the Republicans really, really hard on shit like this. Super fucking easy to do that. Just hit them over and over and over again, because this is like grossly incompetent. Because again, the immediate question has to ask is like, if they were willing to do like shit like this in such an unapproved manner, what else have they done it for? Could like potential like foreign intelligence apparatuses have gained that information because these guys are being so stupid and fucking reckless because they don't overall give a shit? And for them, it's all about making a bag. If they destroy the administrative state, guess what? That's a bonus. Like, think about it for like literally 3 seconds. It's crazy, dude.
There has been no recognition of the gravity of this error. And by the way, we will get the full transcript of this chain, and your testimony will be measured carefully against its content.
And guess what? The full transcript is available publicly on The Atlantic. Jeffrey Goldberg published it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think.
Yeah, this is like, it's an embarrassment. I don't know if Trump's answers were put on here. I do want to just see about the glitch thing. Charges on Planned Parenthood.
Rights
Don't care
away
about that. Sanctuary cities. Yeah, because you can definitely do that. Oh, here we go. So Trump on the Signal Group.
Did it change any of the practices that your national security officials used after a reporter was inadvertently added to a group chat about attacks on Yemen?
Well, I think
Oh yeah, I know about that, Boy Meets Minnie. Yeah, that guy's a fucking nutter.
it's a question I've been asked now, and I've given a few answers, and they've all been the same. We have an amazing group. Our national security now is stronger than it's ever been. We
So
have,
far, he's not answering
had
the
a
question.
Very, very successful, numerous attacks in that area. These are people that shoot down ships, not only our ships, ships all over the world. They're shooting down right out of the water and damage.
I know like there's like that one meme video posted by like Monkey D. Luffy from Hassan, like, who said like, here's all the ships that we sank, and like what they mean by sank is like that they just hit it with missiles. So the veracity of that claim is extremely dubious at best.
Damaging them
But,
badly,
you know,
or they're
whatever.
going down. They're also shooting anything that happens to be flying in the area. We hit them very, very hard. There was no classified information.
So it's mostly stuff that's going into their territory, which Trump is not going to mention, but okay.
As I understand it, they used a app, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use, and I think.
Are you going to?
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, he's just full of shit there, of course. Yeah, he doesn't know what Signal is. He has no fucking idea, which is what I said earlier. But here's Mike
There's a lot of
Waltz.
journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making
So far, the similar line that Pete Hegseth was going. Let's talk about 2016 again, guys. 2016.
up lies about Gold Star families, and this one in particular I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are.
That's just a lie. Literally, fucking Jeffrey Goldberg literally has said, like, yeah, I've talked with this guy before. The idea that he has invited me to this seems very strange initially. He thought it was a spoof. It wasn't. It ended up being real. You can see how they're not just immediately and actively trying to deny it. Like, they're trying to, like, do cover-ups for it. And by the way, like, so far, like I said before, the messaging on this has been just completely just whack. Like, the conservative outlets are saying, like, yeah, this was pretty bad. But, like, I don't know. I don't think we can really spin this one, guys. Tulsi Gabbard was, like, trying to weakly and meekly try to deny everything. Same with Radcliffe. Even though, like, it's fairly clear and obvious to anyone who can see that. And then you have, like, Hegseth and Mike Waltz who are saying, like, we're just going to deflect. The messaging is completely not... You can tell that this has just been a complete fucking shit show when this fucking article dropped. It's just like, uh-oh, oh fuck. Like I said before, uh-oh. Discord chat leaked, boys. It's over for us.
And we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes...
I mean, you invited him, buddy. Like...
President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months...
That's just not true, but okay. Yeah, he's... going on to blame Biden, has to deflect, because again, you have to suck off Trump, because otherwise if you don't suck off Trump, you're gonna get fired. Full fucking cacatocracy.
Between them are destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team.
Yeah, just like a complete weak non-answer. I have to deflect at all costs because, you know, my job might be at fucking risk here.
Criticize so strongly. He's a very good man, and he will
Let's see.
Continue.
And yeah, indicates he's not planning to fire anyone, so guess what? Shit like this could happen again, guys. Uh-oh.
You to do a good job. In addition to him.
Because again, for first and foremost, for Trump, it's all about sycophancy. Who's willing to get down on their knees and suck his fucking dick?
We had very good people in that meeting, and those people have done a very, very effective job, and you're going to see it. And it goes on, by the way. It's going to go on. And I think the Houthis wish that it didn't happen.
Houthis? Like, I think Trump might be having Hooters on his mind. I want to bring back Hooters. Dude, there's a reason why fucking Hooters fucking bankrupted, okay? They had the vision, they had the idea, they did fucking nothing with it, okay? They just did the same shit, and we're just like, maybe it'll keep working if we just keep doing the same shit. And they didn't innovate at all. I saw that take from someone on a stream once. I'm like, I 100% agree with this. They didn't innovate with it at all. So much potential to waste.
But that's what it's all about. We have to create a safe country, a safe world, and that's what we're doing.
By not doing the main thing that the Houthis want. Which is, hey, can we, like, not do this? No more of this? Waltz has done a great job. I mean, yeah, it's what? We're gonna be calling, it's just gonna be the same shit over and over again. Europeans have been freeloading.
So President told you that information was not classified.
Another question? Please, go ahead.
Just following up on your comments.
Refuses to answer about whether his top of national security officials should share classified information. Oh, he just doesn't answer that question. Okay. So not even the main guy is just like nothing. And Europeans, I mean, you can tell like the utter just sheer contempt that they have. Like just complete sheer contempt that they have for like Western like liberal societies. I think that's pretty much just like a summary of like everything that goes on. He's talking about like how Jeff Gold. I'm just gonna go like based off of the chyrons, like what going along with the stupid bullshit JD Vance said, saying that Jeffrey Goldberg is a sleazebag because he reported on him negatively, so of course he's a sleazebag in his mind. That the Atlantic is a failing publication, just deflect, not address anything. Classic fucking Trump. Like. We're pretty much just gonna wrap this up here. There's really not much else to say. This has been a complete fucking shit show from the beginning. Just an utter disaster here by the Trump administration. And I mean, it's fairly fucking obvious, dude. It's just like, dude, what the fuck, man? What a complete fucking shit show this is. There's really not much else to say about this. It's obvious and clear. They knowingly shared classified information on a channel that was not fucking approved, that they wanted to keep off the record. So not only what they did was fucking stupid, but also illegal. Crazy. And it's illegal because they wanted to keep it off the record. They could use Signal to share that information if it was to be on the record and if it was approved, but it was not approved, and they were going to keep it off the record. So what they did was stupid and illegal. There's really not much else to say about this. Just complete cacotalkical incompetence.